Hey, welcome to 10 Minutes of Articulation. It's been a while since I've posted, but it's okay. When it's time, and we come back. So I think this will be episode 4. And I recently took a position as the youth pastor for Grace of Christ Presbyterian Church. And in some of my praying and studying and seeking the Lord, God gave me another song, and so I'm just going to share a couple of the scriptures that this came out of, the prayer times, and then share the song with you in hopes that it's an encouragement. It feels very timely. I think it's not only for the people and the places that I've been praying for right around me, but I think it's true for a lot of people just seasonally right now. Our nation, our state, our country, our valley, our community at the very least. So here's a little bit. I think it started with my prayers for the youth, and I was asking God, what are some of the things you want to do for the youth at Grace of Christ? And one of the scriptures he led me to was Isaiah 61:1, and I'm reading out of the Voice translation, and it says, He has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to repair broken hearts, to declare to those who are held captive and bound in prison, be free from your imprisonment. So without going into too much detail, God was just revealing to me some of the curses that this generation is raised with that other generations perhaps have not faced. Some of the things and the hardships in our culture that they are having to battle that we didn't have to battle growing up, and so just his desire that they would be freed from those curses. They're not necessarily rebellions that these youth have chosen. It's the system, it's the culture, it's what they've grown up with, and it feels like they've been raised with shackles already on their hands, and they don't even know why they're bound. And so I just felt like the Spirit of God was saying, I want to free them. I want to break these curses. I want you to have a culture within your church and your community that simply removes that from them and removes those burdens so that they can come freely to me and be free of the things that have been set upon them. So that verse about being free of your imprisonment and having the captives that were bound in prison, declaring that they be free and that their hearts be repaired, was one that got lifted off the page for me. And then the next piece that kind of added to this whole song, that kind of came out of all of these places of study and prayer, was I was just kind of doing some worship. Sometimes I seek God in worship, and I feel like he speaks through song, and I was worshiping, and the song was about God's faithfulness. It had some words about God's faithfulness and being good to people, being good to us as his people. And my spirit just welled up with tears, and it was almost like I was being filled with how proud God was of the people at this church. They've gone through some ups and downs. They've had some real lows and been through a lot of tide changes, and changes in leadership and different things that have made things feel shaky and maybe not as stable as they would want, or steady and predictable at least. And I felt like God was just saying, I am faithful to them because they've been faithful to me through the downs, through all the changes, through all the things that they couldn't predict, and that they have experienced and trudged through. I feel like God was saying, I have seen their faithfulness. I have seen you being faithful, for a better word, to me. And I could just feel his pride and his affirmation over that, and his, almost as if he was saying, I am being faithful to you because you've been faithful to me. And you might have dwindled in numbers, but there are the few that are here have been here a long time and of putting in hard work, and I have not been blind to that, and I have seen you. And so I just got a real sense that I was not coming in as a new person to bring in wonderful things to this place, as a new employee. It really felt like God was giving me an understanding that I'm building on a deep foundation. There have been people here who have built and set these deep, deep foundations and have been building and praying and being faithful all these years. So no matter whether I come into a large congregation or a small congregation, I feel like God was saying, you are coming in to stand on a foundation that's been built, and they have putting in years of faithfulness and hard work, and just kind of showing me, that I'm coming in because of their faithfulness, almost that God has drawn me in because they have prepared the way for me to be able to come in. Their faithfulness has opened a door for me to be able to minister here. So that was just a really good perspective, that I felt like God was showing me there. And then it kind of culminated in last week. I was in Isaiah 61, right, for that one verse. So I just flipped back a page and I said, let's check out Isaiah 60. And again, I'm in the Voice translation, and I think anyway, this is what lifted off the page for me. So starting in number 1, it says, arise, shine, for your light has broken through. The Eternal One's brilliance has dawned upon you. See truly, look carefully. Darkness blankets the earth. People all over are cloaked in darkness. But God will rise and shine on you. The Eternal's bright glory will shine on you, a light for all to see. Nations north and south, people east and west will be drawn to your light, will find purpose and direction by your light. In the radiance of your rising, you will enlighten the leaders of nations. And the piece about just darkness coming up, I feel like for a lot of us the last 2 years, we've felt like we've been in very slow or low places. There's been very hard things that we've been asked to come through. And so we've seen this darkness, in different ways, and have been asked to be faithful despite it. And in verse 4, it says, your children will come back to this land, your sons from the farthest places of wandering, and your daughters gently carried home. And when you see it, your face will glow. Your heart will race, and you will be filled with joy. And it goes on to talk about ships will come from over the nations. Herds of camels will cover the land. Just all this abundance, gold, frankincense. And they will announce for all the world to hear, the Eternal be praised. Offerings will be made at his house. His house will be glorious. And then it goes on down, and in verse 10, it says, people will come from different countries and different cultures to rebuild Jerusalem's walls and make her strong again. Their kings will help you, however your need. I punished you because I was furious with you, reduced you to little on account of your persistent wrongdoing. But I will restore you, reclaim you, and rebuild you, because I cannot help but love you. And that last line, because I cannot help but love you, just pushed me straight into tears. And I just thought about God's faithfulness to us, and how no matter how much we face or have to go through, that he is just coming back to us in love. No matter how we are faithful or unfaithful, he comes back to us in love and reclaims us. So so you'll hear some of those pieces coming out in the song. It just really overwhelms me. I just feel like the season's changing. I think that was the biggest thing. I feel like our seasons are changing, and a lot of us have been asked to do hard things in the last 2 years. And I feel like God has said, you've seen darkness spread, and you've been asked to do hard things, but I have not been blind, and I have not, been unhearing. And I have come to reclaim you, and I have come to build you back up, and I cannot help but love you. And in that love for you, I'm gonna bring good things for how you've been faithful. So here's a song. You have watched darkness spread thick across your land. You have been waiting for the Savior's promised hand. You have been bent and humbled, left battered from the storm. But take heart, our God has come. The sun will rise and never set, and joy will flood your streets again, because I cannot help but love you. Sons and daughters are coming home, as captives freed with hands unbound, because I cannot help but love you. Oh, I have heard you cry out for all this time. Oh, I have watched you stand firm in rising tides. My hand has been on your hand that has never left the plow. My church, I'm coming now. The sun will rise and never set, and joy will flood your streets again, because I cannot help but love you. Your sons and daughters are coming home, as captives freed with hands unbound, because I cannot help but love you. Declare the year of Jubilee, my glory shown for all to see, because I cannot help but love you. My light has dawned upon your face, shake off the dust of darker days, because I cannot help but love you. The sun will rise and never set, and joy will flood your streets again, because I cannot help but love you. Your sons and daughters are coming home, as captives freed with hands unbound, because I cannot help but love you. You have watched darkness spread thick across your land. You have been waiting for the Savior's promised hand. You have been banned and humbled, left battered from the storm. But take heart, our God has come. Thanks for joining me. I'm Cara Marie. This is 10 Minutes of Articulation, and I pray that you keep your heart and your ears open to hear the voice of God. Take care.